Hi everyone, my name is Serena. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to talk a little bit about Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng and the show, which in Italy was on Prime Video, on Amazon. I'm not sure in other places, but it's short. I think it has 8 episodes, and I recommend this book and the show. They're a little bit different. I'm going to talk about it in this video, but in particular I really want to talk about the main themes. So stay tuned if you want to hear my thoughts. There are going to be spoilers, so I'm warning you. But the overall synopsis of this is there's this rich white family who rents a house to another family, and in the meantime there's this other rich white family who is trying to adopt a Chinese baby who was left at the fire station, and now the biological mother wants her back. So there's this court case. I hope it was clear, but I really do recommend this book. And let's talk about the themes. The main themes of the book and the show is, first of all, motherhood, but it also talks about class, and especially in the show, race, sexism, and sexuality. And I am going to talk about why these are the main themes and about specific scenes and specific things that are said in the show in particular. By the way, I read this book in summer, so I know this video is late, but I still really want to talk about this. And I have my notes, so I'm going to try my best explaining myself, because sometimes I feel like I'm not doing a good job. But let's try. Let's talk about motherhood. So we have Elena Richardson and Mia Warren. I didn't remember her last name for some reason. But in the show, Mia and her daughter Pearl are black. And in the book, it is not said. And I think I've read something on the internet that Celeste Ng didn't write them as black characters because she didn't think she could represent them properly. There is diversity in the book. I mean, there's a Chinese character. I think Celeste Ng is Chinese American, so I think it's great that they made Mia and Pearl black characters in the show, because we see a lot of other themes. As I said, race is a big theme in the show, and I'm going to talk about it. But motherhood, we have Mia and we have Elena, which are the two main characters, and they're both mothers. What this show and book teach us is that motherhood isn't easy. I mean, I think we already know that, but we really see that in the show and in the book. We in particular see this kind of switch between the daughters. Izzy really likes Mia and hates her mom, and Pearl really likes Elena, and has, problems with her mom. So there's this kind of switch. And the reasons why they don't go along with their mothers are Pearl really wants to know her dad, and Mia was, a surrogate for a rich family because she couldn't afford going to college, but she changed her mind and basically ran away while pregnant, and she slowly convinces herself that she has done a good thing, and she keeps repeating throughout the show that Pearl is hers, and she did what she had to do. And what I say is that, yes, Pearl is hers, but she does have a dad, and I do believe she has the right, especially now that she's growing up, she's a teenager, she has the right to know her past, her story, her origins. And I think Mia is having a hard time with Pearl growing up. She cannot really, hide this from her, and she starts doubting, and they're having a really hard time communicating, and this brings conflict to their relationship. But by the end of the story, they start communicating more, and Mia is convinced that she cannot keep this from her daughter, and she also asks her if she wants to meet him and all that. and she is very, very scared. She's a scared mother trying to do the best for her daughter, and in doing so, she makes a lot of mistakes. So we have that relationship, and on the other hand, we have Elena's relationship with her daughter, Izzy, her, you know, fourth kid, the second daughter, because she has other kids. In the book, the relationship between Elena and Izzy is different than in the show because they have made changes. In the book, Elena is very controlling of Izzy because when she was born, she was in the NICU, in the NICU, I don't know how to pronounce that, for several weeks because she was born, I think, premature. So after that experience, you know, which was a very different experience from her other children, she becomes very controlling over her, always, you know, kind of protecting her, I guess. And Izzy doesn't want that. Izzy wants her space, wants more freedom. But in the show, we also have the Jamie storyline. Jamie is Elena's ex, which in the book goes off to war. But in the show, he's actually a character who is shown because he is living her dream. He works at New York Times. Elena is also a reporter, but a local reporter, you know, local journalists. And she is always thinking about how her life would have been if she didn't, you know, settle down. And she meets him several times during the show. She's very jealous of him. She's also very jealous of Mia because Mia is living her life as, even though she is a nomad in some sorts, she does what she loves. She's a photographer, an artist, and she has a really bad time connecting to Izzy because her last pregnancy came all of a sudden. And she was a very hard baby because she always cried. And so there wasn't that connection. I'm guessing she had like postpartum depression and she never connected to her baby. So her relationship with Izzy is very difficult. They don't communicate as well. So we have those two scenarios. There are a lot of things, you know, that differentiate the two characters of Elena and Mia, but the thing that is, you know, that they have in common is that they are trying to do, or they think they're trying to do the best for their kids. Let's talk about class. Obviously, a big part of this story is the adoption situation with the court case, and I think that this is a very complicated situation, and the author does a great job in not being biased. I mean, it's not very evident if she has picked a side, but she demonstrates the bad and, you know, the good and the bad of both sides. Different characters have different opinions. Obviously, we have Mia, who really sees her situation in BB's situation. She helps her any way she can. She gives money to the lawyers. She sells her important photo. And obviously, she's on BB's side. But she also believes that Linda and her husband kidnapped Mirabelle or Mei Ling. They did not kidnap her. BB did leave the kid at the front door of a fire station and they had to give the kid to someone. She keeps saying that they kidnapped her. On the other hand, we have Elena and Linda who have this binary concept of poor mother is a bad mother and rich mother is a good mother. So we have that, and obviously Elena's on Linda's side. She thinks that she can give Mei Ling a good life, a better life. And speaking of Elena, in the 6th episode we have the whole flashback part in which we see her struggle with motherhood and with Izzy always crying, but being in a very great financial situation. She could leave the kid with friends, with a husband, and go buy a pacifier, which BB could not do. She could not even buy milk for her daughter. So we have that comparison between the two situations, but on one hand the mother is poor and the other the mother is rich, and Elena really doesn't see this at all. Obviously there is that situation with Mia being a surrogate for money. So class is connected to that situation as well. And by the way, I would be scared if someone watched me on the subway and then proposed something like that. Creepy. Let's talk about race. As we said, Mia and Pearl are black in the show. Mia is very different from the book. She is more angry, and I guess the fact that she is a different, you know, she's black, it makes sense. And the conflict starts very early on between the mothers, between the characters. Anyway, there are these concepts of white savior, white privilege, and racism, and I'm going to tell you which scenes really highlighted that. Mia in the show is very annoyed by the fact that Alina and her family are trying to help Pearl in everything. There's Alina that helps Pearl get into a math class. Pearl doesn't succeed in getting into that class, so Alina, white savior, helps her and she gets in the class. And Mia, when she discovers that, she is angry. Also, Lexi, the other daughter of Alina, actually buys her things, and this also bothers Mia. Then there's the situation in which Alina offers Mia a job as a housekeeper, and then Mia feels very much that she's being asked to be a maid in some sorts. And obviously we know that black women were maids for white women, and so there's that situation. Lexi doesn't think she's racist. She is convinced that she's not racist because her boyfriend is black. So there is that situation like, oh, my friends are black, so I'm not racist situation. Lexi steals Pearl's story to write her paper. And while in the book that is different, Pearl offers to write the story. In the show, it's like she is stealing a black girl's experience and making it her own, like it's the same thing. In one of the first episodes, Izzy goes on to a bus and she doesn't have 70 cents to buy a ticket, but the driver lets her sit while I don't remember which, I think Pearl, she didn't have money for something. She got kicked out, obviously, because of the color of her skin. I don't remember what happened to the other character, but I remember Izzy getting into a bus even though she didn't have money to buy a ticket. And we have Linda calling Bibi an illegal alien. In the 5th episode, when Elena goes off to New York and to visit, to go to Mia's parents to investigate, she sleeps in her car and the officer knocks on her window, waking her up and telling her to go sleep somewhere else because this neighborhood isn't safe, aka there are black people. In the 7th episode, during the court case, we have that conversation between the lawyer and Linda, in which he's trying to know what Linda is doing with Mei Ling. You know, is she trying to connect to her Chinese origins? She basically says, I bought her a panda, we eat Chinese food, you know? And she also changes, the fact that she changes Mei Ling's name into Mirabelle is racist because she did not, you know, she didn't need to change her name. And by the way, Mei Ling is not a difficult name for English-speaking countries. Lastly, the last thing that I want to say about this theme is in the 8th episode, someone says that, I don't remember who, maybe Moody, I think Moody, says that people like Mrs. Collins, Linda, always win. So the white person always wins. The rich white person always wins. Bibi ends up taking her own daughter in the middle of the night and they go away. Those are all the things that I wrote down that happened in the show that really highlight these concepts. So let's talk about sexism. This is a big theme in the show as well. First of all, we have Trip, who has sex with Pearl. They have this brief relationship, and after sex he is acting like she hypnotized him or something. He literally says that my brother likes you and you kiss me. What am I supposed to do? I am human. So basically he doesn't have any fault, and that basically men cannot contain themselves. But in particular, what really angered me is Alina's mom. We have the 6th episode, the flashback episode, in which Alina is really struggling because she finds out that she is pregnant again. She wasn't expecting that. She was trying to concentrate on her career for once and her work, so she was conflicted in whether continue on with this pregnancy. And her mom tells her that it's okay to just be a woman and let men be men. And she also says obsession that your generation has. So basically her generation has obsession with working and having a career. And she says that you're acting like it's a choice, because she was conflicted in whether or not having the baby. And yeah, you have the choice. In contrast, we have Lexi, who actually gets an abortion alone, actually with Pearl. And a really big thing that was different, the book from the show from the book, was that Mia wasn't supportive. In the book, she had an abortion and went to Mia's home, and she was acting like a loving mother, and I really like that because it really helps with Lexi's character development and her actually not ending up being like her mother. Alina, she thinks that everything is perfect in her life, her family, which absolutely not. She fights always with her husband. She cheated, and you can't really control. She's trying to control even the food that she eats and the wine, alcohol that she drinks. And in the last episode, she actually tells her daughter that, no, you did not have an abortion. You're my perfect daughter. She's in denial, basically. So yeah, we have that. I want to talk about sexuality. Lastly, in the book we have one character in that community. We have Pauline, who is married or in a relationship. It's the 90s. And in the show, actually, she's not in a relationship. She actually has a relationship with Mia, and Mia is bi, and obviously Izzy is gay. So we have that representation. Elena, as always, is being a Karen, and she says being gay is a very rare thing. And I guess in the 90s, not a lot of people came out because it was a different time. It's not like today. And also April, Izzy's schoolmate, and with whom, you know, she has a little bit of a relationship. She is having a hard time coming out, and I understand that. It's the 90s, but why did she have to be so mean and a bully to Izzy? So those are all the themes that I really want to talk about. I hope I said everything that I wanted to say. And before I conclude this video, I want to talk about the ending. If you saw my wrap-up, the ending wasn't my favorite thing ever in the book, and they changed that in the show and they made it better. My main complaint was that the kids and other characters didn't have they weren't very emotionally involved with the fact that Mia and Pearl were leaving. They were just like, okay, and didn't do anything. They went to the house and saw the art that Mia did. But in the show, they are pissed. There's Moody, who, poor Moody, he's a good brother to Izzy, but yeah. And there's Trip, there's Lexi, who all try to stop Izzy from putting the house on fire. As if you read the book, Izzy does that alone, thinking that no one's in the house. But in the show, they all get involved, and all the kids start a fire in the house. And Elena ends up taking the blame, which kind of makes sense, because even though she didn't physically lit the house on fire, metaphorically she did. She broke that house. So I was confused why they were changing so much, but I liked it. Overall, the show was more dramatic. We have the scene in which BB comes into the house while there's Mei Ling's birthday party. A lot of cheating, a lot of conflict since the very beginning, more conflict than in the book. I liked that the characters were more vocal in the show, you know? And because in the book, it felt like a lot of things were left unsaid. I'm very proud of myself for filming this, so I hope you enjoyed it, and let me know your thoughts if you've read or watched the show, and I'll talk to you in my next video. Bye!